Would you like a scone, darling? Care for a spot of tea with me at noon? If neither of these questions sounded weird to you, despite my hideous impersonation of a British accent, then you need to keep watching this video. Both of those questions had big mistakes. It's important that if you're planning on going to afternoon tea, that you know the basic etiquette surrounding the tradition. That's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video, and I suggest you watch until the very end when I tell you about a guaranteed way to get your man excited about going to afternoon tea with you. I promise. Afternoon tea is said to be created by Anna, the 7th Duchess of Bedford. She couldn't wait until dinner every day at 9 p.m., so around 4 p.m. she requested that a tray of tea and cakes be brought to her. She sounds like my kind of girl. And that's how the tradition of afternoon tea started. Afternoon tea has become quite popular in London. In fact, it's now at the level where hotels are producing really creative themed teas to get customers' attention. My blog has countless reviews on it of afternoon teas. Some of the more popular ones that you'll find are a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory inspired afternoon tea at One Aldwych Hotel, a 24-karat gold tea, Japanese afternoon teas, Wimbledon teas, rock and roll teas, Fashion Week teas, royal birthday teas, a Halloween themed tea, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland teas, Christmas teas, and a shrimp tea. The Bubba Gump Shrimp Company at one point in London offered an afternoon tea. And one of my favorites was the guiltless afternoon tea. So I talked about how afternoon tea has become extremely popular in London and very competitive for hotels. One thing that hasn't changed is the time in which afternoon tea is eaten. It generally starts around the same time in London. See, the fact is, British people don't enjoy eating sweet things early in the day. Very different from in America, where you'll buy things like those Antennaman Danish package things, like, and bring them to work in the morning. That horrifies British people. I really love all my fun shirts that With Love Design sends me, but I would never wear one of these to an afternoon tea. You need to dress nicely. Once you arrive and you're seated, you need to take your napkin off of the table and fold it to where the crease is towards you on your lap and the outside open parts are facing the table. Next, you'll select your tea, which should be served to you in an individual pot. It's really preferred that the tea is served as leaves and not in tea bags. If the place you're going to is really smart, they will have one of the, you can't really see it, but here, I'll try to hold it up. You'll have, there, a little focus a little bit. They'll have, you still can't see it, but anyways, it's a really cool timer that Newbie Teas gave me, but they will have a tea timer. Sometimes they're like little hourglass things that'll drop, and really pretty. But a really smart place will put a tea timer on the table indicating exactly when your tea will be ready to drink. When your timer indicates your tea is ready, you want to take your spoon, I'll get a little bit closer so you can see, and you want to stir your tea like back and forth like this, not like round and round so it splashes everywhere. That's really tacky. So you take your spoon and just back and forth. Okay, got it? Next, you'll receive a plate of sandwiches. You eat the sandwiches with your fingers, not a fork. That's why they're called finger sandwiches, so it's not rude. You use your fingers to eat the sandwiches. Most really nice afternoon teas will offer you a whole second plate of sandwiches. Do not make this mistake. I've done it a few times. Don't underestimate that carb explosion that's about to happen in your stomach 15 minutes after you finish your first round of sandwiches. Make the second plate of sandwiches decision carefully. The second course involves a plate of scones, cream, and jam. And see, that's one of the mistakes I made in the questions in the opening of the video. It's pronounced scones, not scones. So when you're ready to eat your scone, you pick it up and carefully break it apart with your fingers. Don't think you have to be all British and proper and take a knife and like cut it in half. You'll look like a fool. When I'm at big blogger events that take place over afternoon tea, there's always a debate at the table where I'm sitting. What are you supposed to do? Put the cream first, then the jam, and then the cream. It kind of depends on where you're from. Cornish clotted cream means you put the jam first and cream on top. If you're from Devonshire, you put the cream first and then the jam on top. So if you're American like me, that means you can basically put them in any order that you prefer. What I do is I put a little bit of jam on half of my scone and then put some cream on top. I wait and see how much other people have used, and then I put a little bit of jam on the other half and all the cream that's left on my last half of my scone. I know no one does it here, no one at all, but I really don't care. However, an absolute rule for everyone is don't take half a scone with cream and half a scone with jam and mash them together like some kind of little Big Mac or breakfast sandwich. No one does that. You will look stupid. The last course of afternoon tea is the pastries. You can use a small fork for that with your right hand, but don't pick up a knife and use it. Finally, when you're finished, you pick up your napkin and you dab the corners of your mouth. Don't aggressively wipe it back and forth like you've never been to a nice restaurant in your life. So those are the basic rules that you need to know for afternoon tea. You'll actually find more and more that hotels are offering a lot of champagne or specialty cocktails with their afternoon tea. For example, this is a really cool cocktail from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory afternoon tea I mentioned earlier. Those kind of drinks and gimmicks do take away from the actual afternoon tea experience, which brings us now to the point I mentioned in the beginning, which is how to get your man excited about going to afternoon tea with you. One of the most enjoyable afternoon tea experiences for me was at the Playboy Club in London. And yes, I did take my husband, Mr. Sunny, to the afternoon tea. It's the only one that he's been to with me in London, and he loved it. You'll have to read my blog review on it to see why. Like, pin, or share this video if you found it valuable. The description below features a discount code for With Love Design that sends me all the fun t-shirts from America. I would love to know in the comments below or anywhere on social media what else you'd like to learn about London. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any tips and advice for visiting London or living here as an American expat. And as always, thank you for watching.